that's where like the elves and because if you think about it, elves and all the fairies and all the other mythical creature has been told throughout the years of many cultures. Okay? Like in the Philippines for number one, we always think that they live underneath the earth. Why is it? Why do we have the knowledge that they live underneath the earth? Huh?
You want me to answer that? I can answer it.
Answer it.
Okay. So the reason why a lot of people like to say the middle of the earth is because saying it from the ocean, and not everything can be from the ocean, correct? Which is true. Not everything could live in the skies because we'd see it. So the best thing is middle of the earth. But there's a lot of stories just throughout history, many cultures that talk about, things coming from the earth. Again, some people take it in a more realistic, some people think it more as like, just a saying, like it crawled out of the earth. A lot of people say it crawled out of the earth because they don't have an explanation, so they say it just crawled out of the earth. So that's easier to explain. But I don't think I think Agartha is real. I don't think it houses mythical creatures like elves.
I think it does.
Or dwarves, or the only ones I could probably see are like maybe like the hill giants, stuff like that. That's more plausible. Fairies? No, not fairies.
Why, because they lost the battle from the pixies?
No. I don't think fairies are real. Or even pixies, for instance, because I think a lot of people...
they are.
I think a lot of people just saw like different species of like hummingbirds, and they're like, oh, it's a fairy. Like, it's not a fairy, it's just a forest.
I think it is a fairy.
I bet you.
But I don't think it's the fairy that we all like think of it.
I think it's just a hummingbird that people see. Because hummingbirds, like, you gotta understand, if you go back 100 years from now, with the knowledge that you have now of different things, and you see these like animals existing, you would tell somebody like, oh, that's just a hummingbird. Like, no, it's one of those little creatures.
There actually is a similar story in the Philippines, especially in the Visayan language. We call this one creature called sigbin. Basically, they say that it comes out at night, and be careful because sigbin, it's like a creature that does this. So he cannot see on the front, but he can see on the back. Is what that creature is. So whenever you are unfortunately on the back, you will get attacked. Okay? And my dad actually demits that thing. I was like, that actually is not some kind of creature. One time, some of the Australians actually brought some kangaroos and brought kangaroos here. And then, it attacked some people and they actually kicks. That's why they think it is.
Which again, that's putting realism on something, which is true. So that's what people don't understand. So when people get confused, because the amount of word spread throughout history, if you're used to something, you see it, you're like, okay, that's just a hummingbird, whatever, blah, blah, blah. So you're like, okay, it's just a hummingbird, but then of course people spin their own tails on it when they're coming to this new world. Oh, I must have been a fairy. Which, it's like, oh, well, how do people know what fairies are? So they take it out of language, so, fairy, small creature, whatever, blah, blah, flying creature, shit like that. So that's why I'm like, no, I don't believe in fairies.
What mythical creatures do you believe in?
Mythical creatures? I believe that there are some certain species of Bigfoot and Yetis and stuff like that. Those I believe in.
I think so too.
I think the Loch Ness Monster was real. I don't think there's any more that exist now. I think that it could have just been
a dinosaur.
Just a dinosaur, pretty much. Or a certain subspecies of that dinosaur. Now how it got there.
Or the whale, how they say that it's actually a whale, the penis of the whale.
That could be a possibility too. But the reason why is, I forget, the guy was on the Joe Rogan podcast, and he was talking about, or was it on Joe Rogan? I don't know, this guy was on he might have just been talking to Forrest Galante, or it might have been Forrest Galante talking to somebody. But around when like the Chupacabra story started to happen, okay? There was this ship that had like these dogs from like Australia and New Zealand or something like that.
The Tasmanian devil?
Not the Tasmanian devil, but it was like this one type of like dog creature thing, animal, and they're bringing it to a zoo. This is like I think in like the 1960s or 70s or some shit like that, or like the 1930s, whatever it was. And they had like 4 or 5 of them, okay? And these things' favorite things to eat were like goats. That's what they like to eat, were goats.
Oh, the Chupacabra?
Chupacabra eats goats. This creature, like the animals that they had, their favorite food is goats. Well, the ship or boat ended up crashing. Everything was accounted for except for those fucking 5 or 4 dogs. And this is at the southern coast of California. And some of the creatures have been like spotted, or like the Chupacabra spottings were like from the base of California to where that thing was, all the way like going up. Because those animals were going. No, going up.
I thought Mexico was the thing. Where is it originated?
Because that was a story too. But all these things like came up, and it's like, oh, that's pretty convenient that this one animal that was going to a zoo crashed, and its favorite food is goats, and goats are getting attacked. So now it's like Chupacabra.
But didn't they say that Chupacabra is actually a real dog, like a dog, but what you call it, basically a stray dog?
No. That's what they speculate as, because they're scroungy looking dogs. But so is this animal. There's a scroungy looking animal. I think the animal is from like somewhere in South America. I'm sure some of them have even came to fucking Mexico. Not to Kansas, but to like Mexico, like going up and stuff. But you have to understand, when people can't make sense of something,
they make up stories.
They make up a story to make it make sense.
Yeah. They make it a puzzle. Yeah. They connect puzzles, they connect dots.
You don't have an answer, your brain's like, no, you need to find the answer. So the best answer is like, oh, it's something that's out of our control. Like, it's a mythical creature, like not mythical.
But don't you get like that one feeling when you think that it is true, like you have that like 100% certainty that it is true, just like the crazy people who basically hunts Bigfoot. I can't say that they're crazy because I do believe that Bigfoot exists. But I don't think that you'll just find them by just like, hunting and, being in that state of wanting to see and find them.
I also think the Wendigo, the skinwalkers exist too.
Oh yeah, that too.
Because I think like the Navajo, they're the ones that have like the most stories about them, but they don't talk to people, outsiders about them, about their stories. Which I think
we have a skinwalker kind of like story in the Philippines. Our normal aswang. But it's funny because the aswang, or the the skinwalker that you normally like get scared of, it also gets a little bit tied to Bigfoot. So do you think Bigfoot is also a skinwalker?
No.
I actually think that Bigfoot is a skinwalker. I actually think most of the creatures, I actually think mermaids are skinwalkers too.
No, I think mermaids are, real, but not in the aspect of like the pretty ones.
I think mermaids are real, but more of like the Luca. I think those are the kind of mermaids that actually still walks with legs, but have scales instead. Instead of having the body of a fish and then, human and fish body. I think it's more like Luca. And that, yes, it is skinwalkers too because they change into humans when they get out of the water.
I can't say about that.
I think it's true.
I think they're more like deep sea creatures that whenever they're dying, they float up. So you're checking my fantasy football.
I think actually Tom Bombadil is part of the Blue Wizards. Because when in the song it says his coat is blue.
Yeah, so even in like when he's dressing, like when him and Gandalf had went to go look for his staff, he was in blue.
Really?
So he might actually be a blue wizard.
Because he said he's there. So it says in the Tolkien story that the blue wizards are the first to came forth.
Yeah,
But there's only 5 wizards in there.
There's only 5 wizards. So 2 the first two wizards to ever be put on Middle Earth was the Blue Wizards. They were both put at the same time.
So that's Bombadil and probably Morgoth.
Maybe.
Then second is the Dark Wizard,
With Sauron.
which is Sauron.
And then Radagast, and then Gandalf was the last.
No, it's actually whatchamacallit. Radagast is the last wizard.
No, Gandalf is the last wizard. Gandalf is the last wizard. I promise you. I can look it up right now if you want. I'll look it up.
Radagast is the fifth wizard though. He's the Radagast the Brown. He's called the fifth wizard.
But you said he came last, is what you're saying. Yeah, that is what you
I
said.
think he's the last one because even that from Bombadil, he was like, after you, there's no more. If you don't like basically find your stuff and find your name and do whatever purpose you have, then there's no more coming after you. But in the rankings, Radagast is the fifth.
Oh yeah, in rankings, it's different though.
Huh?
That's different. Radagast is my favorite wizard. I like
I love
Radagast.
Radagast, although I don't like that he has like bird poop on his head.
Oh yeah.
Even though I'm watching the movies, I kind of smell him. Since we have chickens,
Oh yeah.
I gotta know how it smells like.
Gandalf even his original name. His original name was Olrin.
I thought it was Mithrandil. Oh, it's the elven name that he was given by the elves, I guess.
Yeah, that's what the elves called him in Queen or whatever.
What is his old name?
Olrin.
Grandelf. Thank you, Grandelf. When I was like hearing it, I was like, what the fuck? Is he going to be Grandelf, his name?
You need to buy the book, the Silmarillion. Silmarillion.
Why, is that the dictionary of the Lord of the Rings?
It's a book consisting of collections of myth and stories in varying styles by the English writer J.R.R. Tolkien.
Really?
It was written in 1977. He has another one too called Unfinished Tales. It's collections of stories and essays by J.R.R. Tolkien. They were never completed during his lifetime, but were edited by his son Christopher Tolkien. So Christopher Tolkien, J.R.R. Tolkien's son, died in January 16th, 2020 in France.
And who else is? Oh, they've been writing this all along. And nobody can...
Who's Simon Tolkien?
Maybe the grandson?
Simon Tolkien. Simon Tolkien. He is the grandson of J.R.R. Tolkien. And is the eldest child of Christopher Tolkien. And so Tolkien describes Gandalf as the last wizards to appear in Middle-earth. So Gandalf was the last wizard to arrive.
Yeah, even the Momadou said so.
I know, but you're talking about Radagast was the last one.
No, I'm talking about the rankings. Radagast is the last one.
Yeah, because he's fucking
Radagast the
crazy.
Brown.
He's like the hermit that lives in the thing.
I thought Bombadil is the hermit. He was called the hermit.
Or he is called the hermit. But Radagast, like the hermit that lives in the woods. Because he, just wants to be around his animals and stuff.
I like Radagast.
Me too.
For a second, I actually thought it was Radagast that he met first. It's not from Bombadil. Because the goats and the animals and the trees.
Yeah.
So I thought it was Radagast. And of course, whenever the eagle came in, I was like, it's Radagast! It's not Radagast.
Come Bumblebee.
So I'm thinking Saruman is the second to the last that came forth Earth.
Who?
Saruman
What do you mean?
is the second to the last that came inside.
Yeah, so the first two, they came at the same time with the Blue Wizards, and then Saruman.
No, I guess it was the Blue Wizards, two of them, probably Bombadil and Morgoth.
I just looked it up, love.
Then it's Radagast, then Saruman, and then
No, I just looked it up.
But why did Tom Bombadil say the last wizard that came before you became the Dark Lord?
swear, just looked it up. Well, it might have been that.
Just put the puzzle together. Like the last wizard that found his staff. You know, trying to basically team up with Sauron. What you call it? The Galadriel in this like episode or in this seasons kind of look like Bernadette.